practice of walking has been done since the dawn of time. Like there's so many excellent forms of exercise, but what is something that we're actually designed to do? Because we can lift weights heavy, we can do all these fancy things in the gym, but one thing we know that we are certain designed to do is walking. But how many of us are actually getting enough of it? Because we live in a world of so many conveniences that we don't actually have to walk many places these days. We know like there's certain parameters out there, like say 10,000 steps a day, 15,000 steps a day, and 10,000 we know is like the bare minimum. We really want to be walking as much as we possibly can because when we do that, we get so many benefits that we just may not even think about. Walking has always been our primary form of transportation, and we're experiencing a lot of the health outcomes that result from lack of walking. So the first benefit they're going to go through today is fat loss. Now, there was an interesting study published in the American Journal of Sports Medicine that women over a 6-month period who were assigned walking lost 10% more body fat than the group that didn't. So 10%, that may not seem like a lot, but what is going on with that? Well, it's essentially just influencing the metabolism to work more efficiently. Number two here is blood glucose regulation. Now, walking is very excellent for this, especially after a meal. When you take a walk, we know that if you eat a lot of carbohydrates, for example, what's going to happen is the blood glucose is going to be much more easily absorbed in the proper places, such as the muscles and the liver. This is due to the muscle contractions, because all these muscle contractions actually help things work efficiently and get to their proper places. Number three is lowers blood pressure. There was a study done in the Journal of Hypertension that showed that the patients who were assigned walking had much lower systolic blood pressure than those who didn't. Another study published in the same journal showed patients who underwent a 12-week walking program had a much more regulated blood pressure than those who didn't. Number four is stress reduction. Walking is a great way to relieve stress. Anyone who has a walking practice out in nature, they know this firsthand. So there's so many ways that it impacts our minds just to relax and let things go. It influences something called divergent thinking, basically not just focusing on one way to solve a problem, but the openness and willingness to look at it from multiple angles as well. Number five here on the list is immunity. So we have a system called the lymphatic system, and this is designed to transport immune cells throughout the body as well as remove metabolic waste. The thing about the lymphatic system is that it does not move unless you move. So if you're not moving, if you're stagnant, so is your immune system. So movement is required for essential immunity. A study published in the Journal of Medical Science and Sports Exercise showed that walking improved oxygen consumption, of course, as well as immune cell proliferation. So now that we went through the benefits, we're going to go through some steps now to actually implement this in your own life. So number one on here is a mindfulness walk. So this essentially just paying attention to the senses, paying attention to what's going on in your own mind, just staying focused, maybe trying to solve a problem, something like that. Just being able to get your mind off your work and just relax. Number two here is learning while you walk. So this can be listening to an audiobook, a podcast. All these things can influence our net time, basically using our time as effectively as possible. Number three is actually something called the retro walking, or walking backwards. I know it's kind of strange, but what essentially that does is it helps strengthen the knees. It helps because we're always going forward, but what happens when we go backwards? What you're doing is you're strengthening the opposite side of the body, and what you're going to find is you're going to have much more balance. Helps with injuries as well. Believe it or not, this is actually a practice that is prescribed in China and has been done for thousands of years. So it's kind of interesting. And this only needs to be done for a few minutes, really. So number four here is socialize. Bring a friend. Actually have a good conversation with somebody. Walking is a great way to do that because both your minds are kind of off of things and able to focus more on certain things and just have a good time. So number five is find different terrain. Because if we're always walking on sidewalk, these flat surfaces, I mean, going back to the beginning, when I talked about how we always walked. Well, what did we walk on? We walked on a wide array of terrains. Like stabilizer muscles are being activated, our balance, our proprioception, all these things that you can get in addition to sidewalk, that would be pretty beneficial as well.